Okay, so let's start. Okay, so everyone, welcome to Kol Shira, partners with Breslov.org. This week is a very special week. It's a Parshas Pekudei. We don't have Parshas Pekudei by itself very often, right? Only on leap years, and it's Parshas Chazak, Baruch Hashem, Baruch Hashem. All right, and it's going to be Rosh Chodesh on the Bais here in Eretz Yisrael in the next few minutes. Okay, so here we go. Baruch Hashem. So we have this beautiful parsha, and I found this beautiful Torah here that's brought in Hilchas Birchas HaShachar. Guys, we learned this I would say about 5 years ago. Back in the Young Israel, we learned this thing, and so for us, it's a chazara for all the new people that are listening in now. We welcome them, and here we go, guys. All right. So the Torah says Eila Pekudei HaMishkan Mishkan. It's a very strange thing, the Torah never says an extra word. The Torah could have just said Eila Pekudei Mishkan HaEdus. Why did it have to say Eila Pekudei HaMishkan Mishkan HaEdus? What do we learn from that? So Chazal say Mishkan Bivinyanai or Mishkan Bichubanai. It's the Mishkan we're talking about when the Mishkan is in existence, and also when the Mishkan is destroyed. Well, okay. Bebechinas ma'atayva l'chayakei Mishkan esecha Yisrael. The famous words. The famous words from Bilam, right? Ma'atayva l'chayakei Mishkan esecha Yisrael v'darshu Rabbeinu Zal. And here's what's very important, and this is the most important part of the lesson. The Chazal Darshan. The Chazal Darshan, they say what? Afilu kishehem charevim meginim al Yisrael. Even when the Mishkan and the Batei Mikdashos that were destroyed, it doesn't matter. They still protect us, whether they're around or they're not around. And boy, does the world need protection today. So how appropriate this lesson is. So it says like this now, guy. Okay, b'shvil zeh now. Afilu kishem chav. Okay, ubishvil zeh hikimu es hamishkan b'chol pam, and therefore the Mishkan was constantly erected. U ferku ba'atzman v'nasu imay mimakan lemakan b'midbar. So and what we did was we took it apart. We had to take apart the Mishkan. We know when the Anania Kovitz moved, we had to disassemble the Mishkan, and we started to follow, and we knew we had to go. Right? So we took apart the Mishkan by ourselves. Vinasa, we traveled. Imai, the Mishkan traveled with us, mimakan from place to place. The Mishkan came along with us. Bamidbar, in the desert, chayshech v'afela makim nacha saraf v'akrav. In the midbar, in the desert, that's dark and pitch dark. The place that's filled with snakes and scorpions, the heat and everything else, and whatever it was, the Mishkan was always with us. And afterwards, when we stopped, we encamped, and we set up the Mishkan again. We set it up again, l'hoyres, to teach us and to demonstrate us, l'doyres. Sha'afilu kishamishkan yeh nifrak, v'chorev yogan aleihim. That even when the Mishkan is disassembled, when the Mishkan is destroyed, when the Mishkan is destroyed, it'll still protect us. Because when we took apart the Mishkan and we were traveling through the desert, while we were traveling through the desert, what happened? The Mishkan would come with us, and the Mishkan would be mugging upon us. It would protect us, and that's what we learned today. Now, so how does that pertain to us? How do we know? So now he says, "V'im yikashu v'tzaynam tamid b'kedushas hamishkan ubeis hamikdash v'cheilav." And if we work to connect and bind our ratzon, our will talmid or regularly with the connection and the kedusha of the Mishkan and the Beis Hamikdash. So you'll ask me, how do you do that? How does one connect to the Beis Hamikdash and the Mishkan today? How do we do that? Well, we have the karbanas, the Seder karbanas, right? And where were the karbanas issued? Where were they done? Where were the karbanis offered? In the Bais HaMikdash, in the Mishkan, in the Bais HaMikdash. That's where the karbanis were given. So via us learning, like now we're learning in the Daf Yomi. Those of you that are part of the Daf, right? So we're learning. The Gemara and Chagiga. It's amazing. So we're learning about right now we're learning about what do you call it? Kedusha, Tahara. We're learning about how you have to clean. What intentions we had when you went to the mikveh. What intentions you had when you washed your hands, and so on. It's so beautiful. We learn these things. So these things are binding us and connecting us to the Mishkan. And this is how one can actually connect themselves to the Mishkan today. Via just constantly wanting to. Now listen, today we also know that every Beis HaMedrash, every Beis HaKnesses is a Migdash Ma'at, right? Every Jewish home is a Migdash Ma'at, right? So via us sanctifying ourselves when we're in a shul, while we're in a shul, how do you sanctify yourself while you're in a shul? You don't leave the shul. You don't leave your mind from where you are. We're involved in Kedushas Hamakim. We know we're in a holy place. Right? We don't play on a telephone. We don't do these things in a shul because we have to show the Rebbeinu that the Rebbeinu, this is the Makom, is a Makom Kodesh that I'm trying to connect to. And this is what we're trying to learn over here. Does anyone want to say anything about this? Any comments? No? No, please. I mean, if you have anything to say, please. This is an open forum. All right? Now, okay. Behold, Shekasa B'Torah Zarma. Yuchlu la'ava b'shalom b'chol ha'midbariyos b'chol minei choshech v'tzalmoves, and through this we can travel the world. We can travel through all deserts and all dark places. Afilu kishavim chas shalom b'makom nachas sarah v'akrav v'tziman. Whether we're going in a place of the nachash, the sarah, the akrav, and the tziman. Whether we're walking through the streets. And we have all of our Saidim that are after us, whether we're going wherever we are, whether we for our dear brothers and sisters that are in the Ukraine that are mamish dealing with war conditions. It's mamish a war going on over there. So even when they're in these places, this is the answer. B'chol mekaymes elu behechesh sheyaver bahem roitza lageshes helakodesh. And you want to connect to kedusha? We can. Befrat me. Especially as someone that knows that they made certain mistakes and they did certain things and they want to come closer to Hashem. And they want to come back to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. They're going to have to go through these difficult challenges. Because again, when we do something wrong, when we make Averas, and if a person's living their life in a way that they shouldn't have for a certain period of time, okay, it could have been an extended time or a short time. Okay, so there's a cause and an action. Anytime you do something, there's a cause and there's a reaction in what we're doing. There's always a reaction. So in other words, when we do something where we made some mistakes and we did some things wrong, we have to always understand that we're going to have to deal with certain things in life to because of what we have done wrong. And when we decide we want to come back, so then we have to connect and we have to understand that we're going to go through sometimes some difficulties, but to understand that really HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants us to come back. He says here, Hashem, and through all of the things HaKadosh Baruch Hu will save us. Oh, Baruch Hashem. Al Yedei Toikif HaRotzen the Kedusha. But how do we need to do it? We have to have a powerful rotzen, a powerful will to become pure, to Kedusha, holiness. Sheyizka Al Yedei Eskashel Tzadik Emes. And how do you do that? Through being mekusher to the tzaddik emes. How do we become mekusher to the tzaddik emes? Learning the Torahs of the tzaddikim. When we learn the Torahs of the tzaddikim, Right, when we learn the Torah, when we learn through the Mishnah, we have Yehuda Nasi, and we hear all of the different Tanoim and the Amoraim, and we learn the Achroinim and the Rishonim and the Achroinim, and we're learning Shulchan Aruch. We're connecting to the Tzaddikim. That's how we can connect to Tzaddikim. How do we connect to Tzaddikim? Learning the teachings of the tzaddikim. We believe in the tzaddikim, like we're going to say, like you say in Shemaya, say, Mishal Miftach La Tzaddikim. We're always trying. We have to believe in the tzaddikim. This is what the HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants it to us to remember now. Eile Pekudi Mishkan, when the B'Vinyanai or Mishkan B'Chubanai. It doesn't matter when the Mishkan was either erected and it was in its beauty and grandeur, or when the Mishkan was taken down, or Chas v'Shalom, the Mishkan and the Bais HaMikdash was destroyed. The Mishkan and the Bais HaMikdash can constantly protect Klal Yisrael. If we believe that the Mishkan can protect Klal Yisrael, how do we do that? Via studying via studying and reading and reciting the parshas of the Karbonos. Via coming a little earlier to shul and saying the Karbonos. Not just skipping over. In the shuls, it's such a pity. They say brachas and Amar Rabbi Shmuel. What happened to the Parsha of Tamid? What happened to the Ketairis? What happened to the Chatas? What happened to the Oila? What happened to the Osham? What happened to the Shlam? What happened to all these Karbanas? It's sad, but everyone can take a few moments and say the Karbanas even at home. I mean, this is something, Baruch Hashem, I've been doing, and I recommend everybody do this. Before you go to shul, say the Karbanas at home. It takes about 15, you could spend 10 or 15 minutes. You say the Parsha of the Akedah, and then you say the Karbanas. It's such a different day. You feel connected, mamish, to the Mishkan. You feel mamish connected to the Karbanas. You feel connected to the Bais HaMikdash. And that's what it means, that the Bais HaMikdash, Eila, Pekudei Mishkan, even when the Mishkan is destroyed, we still have the ability to recite the Karbanas, to connect to the Tzaddikim. And via us doing that, we can always have the protection of the Mishkan. Does anyone want to say anything? Any questions? You agree with this? Anyone disagree with the lesson? I get a lot of people shaking their heads. Okay. All right. Well, Ernie, do you want to say anything? Do you have any comments?
I don't want to say anything. And I realize people do that. Like some of the rush, some of the hurry. They should.
Right, but it's a beautiful thing, Ernie. You can just, before you go to shul, you say the Karbanis. Yeah. It's such a nice thing, it's so beautiful. And it's something we can all do. We can all do that. It's a few minutes. We mamish a few minutes extra just to connect with Hashem. That's the most beautiful thing we can do.